Welcome, everyone. I'm Maury Weinstein, president and co-founder of System Source. Today's topic, 10 specific results you should expect from your managed services IT provider. A subtitle of today's presentation is Receiving the Basics, but Not What's Needed. I put that up there largely because we're seeing among our managed service prospects and learning from as they move to their second, third, or fourth managed service provider and all the frustration and loss of time implicit in doing so. Our job today is to prevent that, is to make your first managed services provider choice, if indeed that's your choice, your last one, to avoid going through all the drama and similar that goes on as you move between managed service providers. I have left my phone number here on the screen in front of you. That phone number is good day or night. If you ever feel yourself slipping backwards, something I should hear as president of System Source, I'm happy to talk with you. We hope you're enjoying your pizza. If you haven't received your pizza, please check your front door or reception desk and then contact Julie Dellinger at jdellinger@syssource.com. Thanks, Julie, for putting together today's event. I thought we'd go to commercial for about 10 seconds, and then we'll get right into the meat of our presentation. Many of our clients come to us looking to mature their IT and audiovisual operations. That's a lot of what we do. We use our training center to do that. We've trained over 300,000 people since the training center was put together in 1983. Much of our current work is being done virtually, but we still have classrooms in Hunt Valley and, of course, train on customer sites. We did train 1,082 folks in AI last year. Presentation systems is where we keep the people doing the Teams rooms, all the auditorium building, all the audiovisual work that goes on in conference rooms, meeting rooms, classrooms are all done by our presentation systems area. Consulting is where we keep our heavy hitters. These folks do our cloud migrations, all of our security assessments, all the heavy lifting goes on in our project area. Cloud services is code word for our data center. We've been running a data center in our Hunt Valley headquarters since 1995, so we took our cloud blinders off decades ago. Much of our current work is being done, of course, at AWS and Azure. Service and support can be done two different directions. One is reactively, when you call us when it all sort of falls apart, hopefully not. And the other is proactively, and that's managed services, and that's what we're here to talk about today. If we maintain efficiently enough, there may be enough money left over in the budget to refresh your environment once in a while. We use our configuration center and our warehouse tied to our corporate office here in Hunt Valley. On behalf of the 65 of us at System Source, we say welcome. If you haven't taken a museum tour in a while, our System Source Computer Museum, located in Hunt Valley headquarters, is a great tour. We do give tours groups and have events come in. We'll have a celebration of Apple's 50th anniversary at the end of June, I believe. Those invitations haven't been sent yet, but will be done shortly. Our upcoming webinars, there's one upcoming webinar. It must be taking a lull for the holiday season, holiday time. And that's proactive steps required for cyber insurance claims to be paid in full and to minimize premiums. I'll be handling that one myself. So if you enjoyed today's session, you might find something in that one also. That's June 24th. And you don't hesitate to keep an eye on your email or the front of our webpage. It has all the upcoming webinars. We offer about 40 a year. Our management event series includes all kinds of hopefully interesting topics. Today's is right on top there, but if you may keep an eye on your screen for what to retain or outsource, motivating and retaining IT staff, building a cost-effective, crisis-free IT team, all important topics to do the work we do today. The agenda is in front of you. We'll wander from fixed price for easy budgeting all the way to business reviews. These are the 10 steps that you may want to set as expectations of a future managed service provider or current one. I suspect there's plenty to be learned, even if you're not considering managed service providers, maybe considering us or doing your project work internally. I suspect there's some tidbits in here that might improve your IT operations. Let's start with number one, fixed price for IT for easy budgeting. We had no idea how important this was to CFOs and similar as we entered this piece of the business maybe 17 years ago. Fixed price for easy budgeting is just so important. We just didn't know that, but now we do. You pay only for systems in use, so that's important. Now, remember, we're talking about expectations today of managed service providers. So some of these you may want to turn into a checklist either for your own operation or for choosing your next managed service provider. This is a fun thought, bullet two, because it makes IT largely a variable cost. That's pretty impressive because variable costs are tough to find these days, which means the costs reduce on the way down if you're reducing your headcount, and of course the opposite is true too. So making IT a variable expense is a real gift because there's not a lot of variable expenses in our operations. Now, one of the reasons why fixed price works is that there's an out of scope workstation allowance. We call it adds, moves, and change allowance. And that allowance is 6 hours per 50 end user systems per month. We picked that number out of the hat maybe 16 years ago as we put this in place, and it covers all the out of scope billing for nearly all clients. So maybe one or two of our clients each month get an out of scope bill, but otherwise it really is a fixed price without substantial overages. We put that out of scope workstation allowance in place just to make sure we don't nickel and dime you, and of course to lower both your billing costs and our receivables cost. So that's number one expectation I'd like for you to think about, making sure that your next managed service provider has this in place tightly with the allowance here to make sure there's limited number of out of scope bills, if not zero each month. Number two, lower personnel costs through higher productivity. This is an easy thing for me to claim or for anybody to claim, but the question is, can we prove it? How do we measure it? But balancing increased security against staff productivity, right? Many of us think that increased security reduces staff productivity, and you may have a point. I'll show you some internal numbers that we use behind that in just a moment. But this is a popular management question, is how do I balance uh, staff productivity against increased security levels, forgetting the fact that security that does cost some money and has certain timelines to be put in place, certain requirements. But this is a popular management question. I thought we'd take it head on. So we decided one day at System Source to use our 18-foot conference table when we still used 18-foot conference tables years ago to measure whether we've had any impact on staff productivity. And here's what we came up with. This is the metric we use internally to measure whether we've had any impact on our customers' productivity, whether we should go home at the end of the day feeling satisfied that we've had some impact. And the metric is tickets per workstation per business day. That's the metric we use. And in measuring it from January 2016, that's the benchmark period here on the left-hand side, all the way up to the end of last month, if you fit it with a line, the odd part is it's actually tickets per workstation per business day is actually going down. We think this creates productivity among your personnel because they're spending less time in IT as measured by less tickets per workstation per business day. In fact, that drop is 45%. Again, you can use this data to benchmark against your own data to see if you're seeing the same kind of trends in employee productivity. So over that 122-month period since January 2016, we see a 45% drop. It bounces around a little bit each month. And we've thrown everything but the kitchen sink, like work from home, return from work from home. You know, because you're IT experts, that anytime you touch the environment in any meaningful way, new employees, new interns, new phone system, work from home, whatever it is, this number, tickets per workstation per business day, will go up. It's our job together to bring it back down again. And the interesting part is it's actually working over a long period of time. That number is coming down. Now, Windows 10 and 11 migrations, of course, brought that number back up again. But it's our responsibility together to bring it back down in order to generate less tickets per workstation per business day and hopefully have an positive impact on our employees' productivity. I should tell you that this number that you see here includes all the proactive tickets that we use during the year. In fact, we think these proactive tickets are actually helping keep this number going down. These proactive tickets would include things like firewall reviews, Active Directory management scans. to make sure we don't have extra privilege or extra people in our Active Directories or Entra ID. So that's just two out of maybe 15 or 20 proactive activities that we use during the year. And we think that those proactive activities are actually keeping this number down, bringing down tickets per workstation per business day, even though all the tickets relative to the proactive activities are included in these numbers. If you ever try to monetize employee productivity, right? We can dream it up. We can write down what we think off the top of our heads. But we used some very basic assumptions: $35 per hour average wage, 1 hour of downtime per request, and for every 100 staff members, that's about $11,000 a year in raw salary by reducing 45% of tickets. So you can actually figure out what that's worth to the company in raw salary without any funny assumptions, without any funny calculations, just based on the basic calculations and assumptions of $35 per person per hour, 1 hour of downtime per request. So you're welcome to benchmark against your own numbers. I'd be happy to help you with it. But that answers the question about expectations that your managed service provider should lower personnel costs through higher productivity without a lot of waving of the hands and guesswork. Now, if we can't bring this number down for your account, and remember, this is across all of our managed customers. Some of our managed customers are below and some are above because the average is what you see in front of you. Then we go and we try to understand what ails their environment. What's very interesting to us, at least, is this chart is very different depending on the customer. It varies tremendously based on the customer. Yesterday, I was in a meeting where the customer had 12, 15, 17% of know before related support requests. Another similar number of new equipment. It depends on how old your equipment is, what your turnover rates are. So there's lots of stuff that goes into this, but it's important in order to bring down this number, tickets per workstation per business day, that we do the ticket analysis. And again, you could do it yourself. Your managed service provider should be doing this for you. Otherwise, how would the number come down unless you have some way of understanding what ails each environment? It's very different depending on the customer. I should note that employee productivity is an absolute great goal, but what about management productivity too? Right? That's worth spending some time on. So one of our jobs and the jobs of a managed services choice, provider choice, is to free up your time for doing important things like taking a vacation or winning the talent war or adapting to the mobile world or whatever you're working on. Taking a vacation is actually a sort of a pet peeve of ours because many of our clients report they can't take a vacation for more than a week or so. The risk in IT is too high. We take great pride in seeing that first out of office message that says I'm away for a week and a half or 2 weeks, call system source or somebody for attention. One of our clients wrote us recently that saying everything's seamless. Thanks for allowing us not to think so much about IT. So they're both employee and management productivity are worth talking about. Number three, satisfied end users. Remember that management pays a lot of attention to end users, or should, most managers do, and understanding impact on their workload, on their productivity that we just discussed, and on their satisfaction. We did receive a note from another client who said that when they moved away from their prior managed service provider to us, their internal satisfaction scores with IT moved from 2.2 to 4.4. If you need his name or talk to him, I did promise him confidentiality, but if you need his name, I'm happy to provide that. Just note it on your evaluation for today, and I'm happy to connect you with him. So satisfied end users come from a number of paths. One is to have a well-researched resolution path for the support requests, which start with ticketing system or email, assigning to the appropriate engineer without a lot of triage or escalation, so you don't have to tell your story over and over again. Users receive ticket updates automatically. Every 2 business days is our standard for long tickets to make sure you're not in the dark. Tickets are held open an extra day to ensure resolution. That's a sort of a secret sauce that we learned some years ago, and that makes sure that people don't have to reopen tickets in case the issue reappears. And don't forget that single question customer sat survey that comes up after the ticket is closed. We send it to 100%. It's only one question. It takes about 3 seconds to respond, and we're getting some seriously high response rates. I'll show you the results in the next slide. That satisfaction survey is so important, and do make sure your managed service provider is providing that to you in real time, and so that you can provide your feedback back to them in real time. We find a lot of competitors, a lot of managed service providers talking about customer sat. The numbers of them that measure it, especially in real time, is tiny. It's a dichotomy that I've yet to figure out. That's a head scratcher. Here's our customer sat results across all of our managed clients. We count only fives on a 0 to 5 scale. Some of you know that that's top box method of scoring. And I've asked the managers in this area to keep it in the mid to high 90s, which you can see they do every month. This is based on greater than 3,000 responses a year. And if you're ever not sleeping in the middle of the night, you can go to our webpage. You will see customer sat comments in real time, unedited. We live and die based on customer sat. And of course, displaying it does send a message to our staff and to prospective customers that we live and die on our satisfaction. This one must have been taken during Christmas, I can see here, but it is live on our webpage and on display in our lobby that has unedited customer sat responses in word cloud format, just like you see in front of you. Some of our clients are very creative in their customer sat responses, in their satisfaction. So this is just a notepad I use. Just it's just fun comments. There actually have 4 pages of them. I only hope our clients are as creative in their workplace as they are answering our satisfaction survey. This person said, it's like my computer lost 50 pounds in minutes. This one, let's see, we have a little Chris Davis Orioles humor there. One person said I could frustrate the Pope with my ignorance. He was extremely nice, understanding, patient, so on. So there's all kinds of fun comments here, and we can provide them to you if you want to consider us for managed service status. Number four, reducing security risk to attract investors, prospects, mergers and acquisition, or donors, depending on where you are. Nonprofits, obviously, on the donor side. So it all starts with figuring out what your risk comfort level is. So we wrote down a bunch of security solutions right in front of you, and it's our job together with you to figure out what security risk comfort level you're comfortable with. So you can see sort of you can understand this better by I go to the Fidelity office in Towson maybe once every 3 years to say hello. They're very professional. You may do the same thing with your Vanguard or T. Rowe Price or whoever you invest with. Very professional, very well trained. They're working really slowly. They couldn't possibly be working at more than 50% productivity because they have their security dialed in at 100%. And you would do the same thing if you were managing $7 trillion of other people's money. You would dial your security up 100% also. But that's not the security risk comfort level that most of us are seeking. And that's why we have this chart and various versions of this chart, most of which, by the way, are in scope for managed services. The yellow indicates in scope, some of which doesn't cost any money, and some of which costs money. So for us to have these discussions with you early on, or your managed service provider have these discussions, it's absolutely important. Otherwise, we'll never end up with meeting your risk comfort level if we don't understand what it is. Discussions also center around RPOs and RTOs. You know that those mean recovery point objectives, that's RPO, recovery time objectives. How long do I have to recover your environment, and to what point should it be recovered if a disaster or some data loss occurred? These are important discussions. I was sitting with a IT manager some years ago, and I felt there was an elephant in the room, and I asked him, how long do I have to put your operation back together again if something bad happened? He said 4. I figured he meant 4 months. He hadn't been virtualized. It was early in his IT maturity life cycle. But after this kind of discussion and investing some money and thinking through his systems, which were substantial, I mean, this is a substantial warehousing firm, we were able to get him to the 4 hours that he intended. A lot of proactive activities go in with that, reducing that security risk. So it's not just hoping, prayer, or being reactive. Lots of proactive activities. I've listed some of them right here. I put a couple here that are just somewhat recent and somewhat entertaining. Microsoft let the enterprise applications permissions get a little loose. So if you ran your enterprise applications permissions now, you might not be happy. So we ran them for all of our managed clients and asked them to comment which ones are important, which ones aren't important, so we can retrieve the permissions that were given to these various enterprise applications. Microsoft has since dialed back the ease of permissions. It does require administrator approval at this point, but that wasn't true for the last 10 years. Sensitive AD folder checks. This is a thought we went out to our managed clients and said, if you tell us which AD folders contain sensitive information, we'll return to you what permissions have been applied to date. Those of you who work in Active Directory know that that's not an easy task, and that's why we made it a proactive activity. So those proactive activities keep the security risk down. Security risk reduction comes in a number of ways, lots of reporting, research-driven recommendations, which we'll talk about in a moment. So let's take a look at some of that reporting. I suspect some of you do some of these, hopefully all of them. A lot of Active Directory reporting, a lot of antivirus reporting. But the ones down the bottom, I'm sort of fascinated with. I selected a couple in red. One is the phishing campaign results, and the second is fraudulent 365 logins. So let's take fraudulent 365 logins first. This is our internal data where we measure fraudulent logins across thousands and thousands of licenses, many thousands. So you can see that some quarters hit, this particular quarter hit 10 right there. Not good. Our job is to bring this number down, and we're not going to take credit for it solely. Many of our clients are practicing better phishing practices, better licensing, and so on. But you can see the number overall is headed in the right direction. Had a bad quarter here in terms of preventing these are fraudulent logins. We took on a new client that particular quarter, which had some rough times. Hopefully, we're capturing that and bringing that back down again. Anytime there's a new client, this number has a way of coming up. But there were 8 months here, right here in the middle, that had zero. So this graph is a bit of graph of hope also, that you can reduce this very nagging fraudulent 365 login issue using a whole bunch of proactive activities, better licensing, better phishing, and so on. The second graph that I promised you is the fish prone percentage. This particular graph was created from a real client because we don't really believe in any of our manufacturers' data. So this is a KnowBe4 client. We use KnowBe4 extensively in our phishing campaigns, and we do resell KnowBe4 and set it up in case you want this product or yours needs to be reset up. KnowBe4 is a really interesting product whereby it seems simple, doesn't cost very much, but unless you set it up just right, it doesn't do much. So that's why we reset this up for clients, even if they're not managed. Most clients start at 20-24% kind of range before they turn on KnowBe4 or something similar. And of course, new hires always brings up the numbers. And anytime you change the phishing template, the number pops up. Our job is to bring it back down again. But what's really interesting about KnowBe4, if you put these best practices in place, and we actually have a internal memo on these best practices, the phishing issue goes into the noise and stays there. Name me any other business problem that could be solved at high speed for 3 or 4 or 5 hours a month or whatever it costs per per user. So reducing security risks is something that we've practiced. We can demonstrate, as you've seen in front of you, a lot of performance reporting. If you don't have patch score reporting that's coming to your desk each month, each week, each quarter, whatever, you've got to really think about that because patch is a really boring area. We know it's a boring area because we measure clients coming in from other managed service providers or internal IT. And for many years, those scores were below 30%. They've gotten a little better since then. We think Microsoft might be doing a better job in patching themselves, but we can't prove that. But we take those scores into the mid 90s within a couple weeks. Really boring work, but absolutely important. If you're coming in, which nearly all of our clients were, below 30%, we're just leaving too much room for the hackers. The other performance reporting you see right here at the bottom is backup reporting. And as IT people, we know that we can make some mistakes, but loss of backups is not one of them. So this is another way of managing and figuring out what your next managed service provider should be by asking questions about performance reporting. Have them show you their performance reports. Uh, Among our incoming clients, we're just not seeing this being distributed to clients. And unless you are checking on these things, you know that backups stop, for example, if you don't check on them. It's just the dirty baggage of IT. Backups don't continue on their own unless somebody's checking on them. That's true of patch scores also. So that's number four is reducing security risk to attract investors, prospects, M&A or donors. New customers, which is prospects, are asking a lot more questions about IT security than they did years ago. Number five, making IT easy and efficient. Um, One of the things we do is try to understand our customer environments as people come to us as managed service prospects. It's incredibly hard to do when the prospect doesn't understand their environment and their managed service provider may not be cooperative, may not have educated them, may not have given them a network diagram. And it is impressive the number of people not understanding their environments as they come to us for managed services. It's a very difficult transition, but it can be done and it has to be done. So we are completely open in our work. All the ticketing, satisfaction, performance reporting is all yours. And this is true of any managed service provider you should engage with. That there'll be detailed procedures for onboarding and exiting. Onboarding is so important. I can actually see the disillusionment in people's eyes as I have lunch with our new employees at 90 days. If we don't onboard them properly, you can actually see it in their eyes. And exiting is so important from a security point of view. Unless people are exited properly, the security gaps start to open up. You'll have a managed service provider should provide you lifecycle management software with ticketing at the desktop. When you use the desktop ticketing, that ticket comes to us with about 50 pieces of information. That means I can triage it faster and get it to the right person the first time so there's no reason for you to tell the story over and over again as the ticket is escalated. So that's the advantage there. Oddly enough, many managed service providers actually have this functionality and don't use it. I've never been able to explain that. But these are important questions for your next managed service provider. And of course, the next question you could ask is what percentage of tickets are proactive? If you're playing just reactive, that's an inexpensive low-end help desk approach. But a proactive help desk will keep you from worrying about IT off hours and should reduce the tickets per workstation per business day, which you saw earlier in this presentation. So our number is 50%. You can use it as a benchmark to evaluate your managed service provider. What percent of tickets are solved proactively, which means that it's ahead of you reporting it. Could be backup failures, could be overheat conditions in your data center, could be out of disk space. Those would be examples of proactive tickets. Number six, data-driven recommendations for better IT decisions. A managed service provider owes you this information so that you can make better IT decisions, especially in the area of security. We do see, and it is one of my pet peeves, is people making somewhat random choices in firewalls, in threat locker, in security layers, whatever you want to call it. Turns out we don't have to make random decisions. We have the data. The data comes from the Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report. Verizon calls it the DBAR report. This is our playbook. Verizon doesn't have a big axe to grind, and I suspect your email screen is the same as my email screen. All the zillion vendors are sending you various studies, none of which seem to make any sense, especially statistically, and they rarely break down by industry. If you're in a healthcare sector and you're preparing your hospital or your doctor's office or your healthcare related manufacturing facility, if you're preparing it for the same security risks as a bank or an insurance firm or a mining firm or an entertainment or a hotel, that doesn't make any sense. So to have industry specific real data is important. So let me show you some of that data. I will tell you that this data is dated because yesterday Verizon has issued their annual report. But unfortunately it's 121 pages, so I could not get it ready for you today. We will have other sessions on this, and don't hesitate to keep an eye on the front of our webpage or your email screen for those sessions. So one of these weekends, maybe a long Memorial Day weekend, I'm going to take that 121 pages and make a presentation out of it. And I've been doing this for many years, so but it doesn't make it any easier. So if you were a professional services firm, I just picked that. Verizon watches about a dozen or dozen and a half industries for which they have statistically significant data to help you make security decisions. If you were a professional services firm, like an accounting firm or engineering firm, you would know what percentage your external internal threats are. Remember, we're busy during the day as you're busy during the day. So you can only wear one hat at a time. And of course, if you know external threat actors are 93%, that's the hat you wear. And you know the motive of the hackers, financial at 88. You know what data they're looking for and are stealing. And Verizon helps us understand the top breach categories in each industry. Remember, it's only 10 or 15 industries, not every industry is included. So, for example, if you're a professional services firm, if you are able to conquer these three breach categories, breach, by the way, in Verizon's terminology means the data was actually proven to be stolen. This is the worst category. You would have solved 91% of the breaches if you're able to resolve these three. Now, the if is a big word in a sentence with security in it also. But system intrusion, which is all the ransomware, social engineering, which we've basically solved, assuming best practices are implemented for know before, and basic web app attacks, which are heavily involved in some of the work you saw a moment ago in email intrusion. If you're able to solve these categories, 91% of breaches in the professional services area would disappear. So I suspect you love the 80-20 rule and 90-10 rule just like we do. It gives us a tremendous focus. There's plenty of other things we can work on, but if you're in this sector, we work on these. By the way, this is in rank order 1, 2, and 3. So we know exactly what to work on first, second, or third. You should expect that from a managed service provider. Otherwise, you could be spending money in the wrong order, or maybe something that's not a priority for your sector. Number 7, improving your staff skills. You know that we run a large learning center. I mentioned we trained over 300,000 people since the learning center was put together in 1983. I should also note that we trained 1,082 folks last year in AI alone. We do have free application classes anytime we detect a gap in knowledge or a thirst for knowledge during the support request process. This could be in SharePoint, this could be in Teams, it could be in AI, Copilot, whatever, could be ChatGPT. We will assign that person a free applications class. These are the 1, 2, 3, and some 6 and 7 hour courses that we produce here internally. We'll assign it to the shepherd, the decision maker in your account. That decision maker can give it to anybody they want, but that's how we generate staff improvement in skills. These could be Excel macros, these could be Word situations, it could be PowerPoint, it could be anything. And that's how we keep your staff skills current. So I would definitely ask a managed service provider prospect or your current one for this and to see whether they have the same sense of importance for keeping your staff skills up to date. Number 8, the benefits from solving problems quickly. One thing we noticed years ago is that our competitors would drag out projects. A simple project taking a short period of time, all of a sudden it would be 5 months. Now, some of them you can't fault them. They're bringing people in from out of state, or they may not have the people, or their turnover is too high, or whatever the story is. So I thought maybe we were guilty of the same thing. So I asked our staff to go to our databases and find out what our project completion is. And the answer is it's 31 days on average. So you're welcome to use that benchmark for your own work or for your current managed service provider or future one for fast project completion. Now you could say, well, who cares how fast the project completion is as long as they get it done? Well, of course, you don't get the benefit from solving the problem unless the project is finished. So this is a really important number and an important thing to ask about uh, closing projects quickly, not dragging them out. Can't get the benefit from solving the problem in a project that's been dragged out. Number 9, team coverage rather than individual coverage. We do hear this as a popular problem with current managed service providers. Now, some people provide team coverage, but they do it with a small t. I'm talking about team coverage with a capital T, where everyone has access to the same information so that if your person is not available at that moment, you still get satisfied. Team coverage rather than individual coverage. Now, one way we do that is to put all the data, everything we know about you, in a wiki. We use the Atlassian Confluence wiki to do this. It's a high security wiki. And of course, I've eliminated all the data here to protect the confidentiality. This happens to be one of three tables we use. This is the infrastructure table. You can see all the firewall switches and so on. We want to know everything about you, including your last backup date, where the backup's located, and so on. And we have three tables, and of course, we ingest lots of other information so that we can be intimate with your environment. So think about that as you do your managed services evaluations or even evaluating your own internal work to make sure you're all singing off the same documents. These documents can get rather voluminous, especially with clients that are large or have been with us for many years. But keeping it all in one space means that we have access day and night. So even our nighttime crews, our queues of people at night who do our engineering work, um, have access to this. Number 10, last but not least, business reviews. This is such an important one. And it's kind of interesting because in our industry, not doing business reviews, generally quarterly, depending on the size of the accounts, means you lose the account over a short period of time. But yet, many people still don't do it. I do understand the reason behind it. There's no excuse, but I understand the reason why they don't do it. We never miss our business reviews. In our business reviews, this is where we help make IT decisions. We might introduce solutions you might not have otherwise considered, ingest best practice. Sometimes best practices can be injected more easily from the outside than the inside sometimes. Budgeting for next year, we know the importance of that. All the SAT survey feedback, although you can get it any time. You'll help us prioritize needs so we're not working on low priority thoughts. Analyzing tickets, like we saw earlier, sometimes we can contribute in non-IT ways. We run an organization just like you do. I'll give you some examples of that in a moment. But one of the things behind business reviews is you got to have the right people. These are 10-hour prep sessions, easily 10-hour prep sessions on our side. And that takes the right people, like Brenda Krause, for example, with 34 years of tenure with us. And you can see Rich Glenn at 29 years and so on. So long tenured people helps this process, helps us keep it in place where our competitors would love to do it. And everyone agrees that's important, but it just takes a tremendous amount of time. We never miss them. So what's in these business reviews? This is page two of most of our clients. It is 66 lines long. You're seeing a little snapshot of it right here. This is what we call the security quick glance dashboard. Security is no longer a one question kind of topic. And once we put our security in place, we got to make sure that it stays in place, partly because we've made some attestations to our cyber insurance firms about what security is in place in your environments. So you can see the importance, for example, of 2FA. This is actually an old version of the security quick glance. It's only mentioned about 6 times. I think the current one has probably 10 lines just on 2FA. And slowly over time, our clients go from red to yellow to green as they achieve certain security attributes. We actually have no clients that are completely green in the security quick glance, although we do have clients that are completely green in the next dashboard, which is the infrastructure dashboard. So I mentioned this is a little snapshot of a spreadsheet at 66 lines long that forms our dashboard. We can turn this into a board version also, so you can take it to top management or to the board and show them what your managed service provider or what you've done internally. No way to keep this in our heads, so we had no choice but to create a dashboard out of it. Hopefully you've done the same thing. Here's the a quick picture of the infrastructure dashboard. This one's a little bit more simple, but it does talk about backup readiness and antivirus standards and wireless standards and lots of good stuff being discussed here. Some of our clients have upwards of 50 plus, 60 plus servers. Keeping that in your head, especially over time, is impossible. That's why we use this level of documentation. So, in contributing in non-IT ways, sometimes we can offer some thoughts and trade thoughts, like important things like decreasing 401k expenses, lowering your electricity costs, banking risk reduction. All these are things that we can contribute during our business reviews that are really outside the stream of IT. But we run an organization just like you do. Sometimes we can exchange ideas that may be beneficial. Those are the top 10 questions to ask and expectations to set of your current managed service provider or internal IT or the next managed service provider you're interviewing. I asked Michelle Robinson in our Learning Center to create some offers. This is an interesting offer for those of you who are in management. Most of you are in management. This is an interesting offer in that this is unlimited training. For $18 per user per month, minimum 10, um, you can offer your staff unlimited training in productivity areas, mainly application areas. These are the 1, 2, 3 hour sessions. We call them bits and bytes and megabytes, and it is unlimited. So the reason that this is interesting from a management point of view is you can walk over to one of your better staff members, somebody you want to invest in, and say, "You're one of our high potentials. We'd like to offer you unlimited training." And for $18 a user per month, I don't know how to do that for small dollars. Tapping them on the shoulder, create a positive morale boost for less than $18 a user per month. So do think about this as part of your retention effort. It's really an IT thought, but more an HR thought. We have lots of ChatGPT. We have lots of Copilot training. We have Copilot chat training. For those of you who don't have the full Copilot package, there's lots of AI courses along with lots of application courses. One of the most popular ones is right here, Mastering File Management with OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. You know that some end users have a tough time in this area. That's one of our more popular courses. I think it's a full day. We'll open up open up the floor for questions. Why don't you use the chat box or the question box to ask any questions, or maybe offer some advice to all of us, things you've tried that worked or didn't work, maybe that you saw here today. While you put some questions in the chat box or the question box, I'll go to the ones that you used when you registered. I'll be using your first name only just to protect confidentiality. Javier, welcome today. In your nonprofit, you said reducing security risk to attract investors, prospects, M&A, and donors. In your case, of course, I suspect it would be donors because you're running a significant nonprofit in the healthcare sector. Hopefully, you saw something today that might appeal to you there. Not having ready answers, Javier, in our experience, for new clients, for M&A, for financing sources like banks or new donors does send a message. And I don't think that's a message you want to send. It's something you should have either written down, ready to go, or turn to your managed service provider and give them 8 hours to generate a document. Because when donors and new clients and whatever are asking questions, they don't really, they're not waiting a week or two to see if you've got the stuff that they're looking for from an IT security point of view. Now, 10 years ago, none of this would be true because these folks were not asking any security questions. In fact, when we offered seminars years ago in the area of security, nobody would attend. It's kind of funny. Now, of course, it's everything. So hopefully I've answered your question, Javier, in reducing security risks. If you want to go back to that section and if you have any thoughts about it or want me to add more color to it, I'm happy to. Having ready to go answers for these audiences, we think is important at this point, especially since it's not going to be your small donors or your small new clients that are going to be asking the questions. It's going to be the large ones. They want to see that you have it already cooked. Julie, from one of the schools, welcome today. You'd like more general information for yourself. Hopefully, you saw something today that is a benefit to the school. I'm going to sit quietly for 10 seconds while you put in other thoughts. Go ahead, please. Alan, thanks for the note. If no one else has additional questions, I'll stay about 60 seconds afterwards in case you want to take something offline. Don't hesitate to use the evaluation that'll come to you later on this afternoon and also put comments in there. You also receive a copy of today's presentation. And I'll return the 15 minutes of the hour to you, and I appreciate your time very much. Thanks for joining me.